Mm. Okay. Okay, so is this Douglas right here?
Right here.
Right here. And this is the back piece. So how are people getting in here?
They drive underneath the third unit in from the left. So that's what it looks like. You just raise the whole building up and put a parking ramp underneath the entire thing.
And the only reason why I didn't go that route was because of cost. I thought we wouldn't be able to support it with the rents at the time.
Well, we looked at doing a multiple story parking ramp that costs a whole lot.
Hmm.
The difference is it, you know, 90% of your parking lot is in the middle, but if you raise it up and take those edges, that's where you get all the extra parks to be able to add the units. Because you've already bought the dirt and you've already got that side of it, so then it only becomes that difference of putting that elevated deck.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me see.
So Don, from a cost perspective, what are you thinking?
Just a one floor elevated, you're probably going to be someplace between, boy,
What about for fire?
I'm going to say probably in that, what, 15 range, Lath, or just elevated per stall.
It's hard to say we could, you know, maybe call our guys or something.
Taylor, what question are you asking?
What about for fire? So we've got for fire, if we have a fire for whatever reason, they need to have about 100 radius in order to get in and be able to get out.
Well, they have actually a drive lane down the whole side. See that 20-foot strip?
What's the radius on that right there? What's the length on that? And see, they need to have at least and I'm talking all the way through their turn. What's the width on it?
A lot is 314.
Lath, you're silent again. You're gonna have to go to your headphones.
Okay. Now can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let's see 1 second. So what I was saying, Caitlin, is that's why we have this 20-foot easement here, is so the fire trucks can actually they can access the building from all four sides. They wouldn't actually pull into the site here because that would be a lower portion. That would be like a 9 or 10 foot high floor there. So we have a chunk shown for retail. It's kind of working with the parking spaces to make that work. So, but in essence, this kind of ends up being about 50 feet deep here, and that would come out to about 6,000 to 7,000 square feet off of this street.
Okay.
And then as we go up through the building, we can move this amenity area anywhere we want to, but I'm showing 4,000 square feet of amenity space. And then we have a total of 89 units. think if we have a by floor.
Man, this software is top notch.
Mhm. When we put all the numbers in it, it'll build out a full pro forma. and
I see
everything.
that. I'm
So,
talking about
yeah.
a full.
So you got 80,000 net rentable with 10,000 square feet of common space, 4,000 square feet of amenity. Let's see units by floor, but I'll look for that. Anyways, yeah. So, and then we have the units weighted right now. We threw some 2 bedrooms in, and that's just for area to eat up a little bit more area so we don't have a parking imbalance. Because if we take the 2 bedrooms out, we have more units and stalls right now. So it just
Okay.
requires some further thinking and evaluation on our part to get those unit sizes right. And, we'd have to do a study on that first floor, that parking area.
Okay.
But then as we come up, whoops, wrong way.
So were you locked into how many square feet of retail you have to have?
There is a minimum on retail with it being mixed use. I want to say it's minimum 20% just because of the DSCR ratio, even with the banks, they won't allow more than 20%. So I think minimum we have to have 20% of total usage of the property at commercial. And it has to be ground floor level, which of course makes sense.
Mhm.
Oh, that's not my phone decision.
Oh, hey,
Are y'all busy? Busy?
I'm coming up. You ready for me?
Yeah.
Taylor, take the driver's seat.
Okay.
So we're right about 10% right now.
We're at 10.
I think so. Digging into these numbers a little heavier, but I believe we're at
Go ahead and do yours first.
right about 10%.
So one more question I have on fire.
Yeah.
Can you see my mouse? Can you see the mouse where it's moving to?
No.
No? Okay. Do you see the inner, looks like where the courtyard area is where they've got the
Mhm.
parking spots.
Mm-hmm.
So how would the fire marshal access these patio areas, these windows? What would be the access?
On that one, so there's a couple different ways that we could do this, and that's a good question. The reason I had it oriented this way was to provide some relief to this neighbor here.
Mhm.
So there's not just a 3-story wall right there.
Yeah.
However, we could flip it, and then the fire trucks, I believe, could get potentially far enough away here that they could use a ladder truck and get up into these courtyards.
You
But
sure?
that's something we'd have to talk about with the fire marshal. Specifically with the fire marshal.
Okay.
And Caitlin, we're not trying to say that this is a slam dunk by any means. We're just
No, I'm looking at
throwing
it
some
as
other
the same-
options out there for you. If
Absolutely.
the first site doesn't cash flow, is there an option?
Yeah.
Is there something there that we could, and maybe this is a dead end as well, but we're raising the flag up, and if you want us to chase it down and see if it's feasible, we will.
Yeah. I'm just looking at this. I know because we literally had so many changes alone do with fire, they're gonna want access points to these patios right here. They're gonna want
Okay.
access to the windows. That's
Okay.
really what their pushback was in just in the previous
okay.
conversation. So I know they're gonna, and then at that point, and of course, Waco just got a new fire marshal this year. We wouldn't be having these problems had we not had gotten one.
Of
So
course.
yeah, he's following all,
Of
is even
course.
implementing his own new rules. So that's why I'm thinking if they're gonna have a problem with not being able to get inside there.
Okay.
I mean, if we've got first floor parking, that's a good question I have to ask. If we've got first floor parking, how would the fire marshal access, you know, in general, how would they? And then it may come a case where they may say, well, we don't like the first floor access point that you guys have because you wanted it to be commercial. You see what I'm saying?
Yep. Yep. Absolutely.
Well, did they give you a mandate which roads have to have commercial on?
They really wanted the commercial on Elm and Taylor.
Which two? The
It's
side?
gonna be this, yeah, both sides. Douglas is more so this part right here, Peach, also known as Peach Street, previously known as Peach Street. It's a dead end right here. It's not necessarily a dead end, but it's just a dead road. We're planning on, they're not gonna close this road off, but what we're planning on doing is, Dawn, can you see that property right next to it?
The,
Not
that
that,
one or-
that's the health center. Right next to it is the fire department. Go the other way for me.
This way?
Yes. So
Okay.
this is the building that we're going to be using this property here. And we're going to be staging here, but also the owner is also working to get his funds together to develop something here as well. He has no goal and vision of what he wants to do. So he really likes what we've done and the vision that I have just for the entire Elm Street. So he's willing to combine this property that you see here along with the property next to him. And we're working with the owner as we speak for the property behind us, that big old
Okay.
piece right there.
Uh-huh.
Right now, and this doesn't show any of the new improvement that's going on. So this entire area right here in the front is completely reconstructed. There's an apartment complex,
Oh.
101 Elm. There's now 2 hotels right next to it. This entire street, Bridge Street, which is this long street right here, right down the middle. It's being redone. It's already completed, as a matter of fact. And it leads all the way up to our property. So that's why we're very interested in partnering all together and developing a mixed use aspect as well, commercial and more residential units right here on this lot and right to the ones in front of us there.
Okay.
And again, as you can see that green land right there, that's right next. I wish I could show my mouse here. That's completely now hotels.
Oh, okay.
And this big building over here, this is a company manufacturer, and they are going to be moving their location because they're building a concert area right here in the front, and they're no longer going to have access points for their trucks. So what's going to be built right next to us is going to be a retail facility. It's an entire retail area.
Okay.
So if they're building retail next to you, are they still mandating you keep that much retail in yours?
They do, because they want our retail, even though they haven't specified, they want our retail to be accessible for business owners, because that's where we're seeing the lack of office space is for the smaller business owners who just want a new look of business space. And since they're doing so much revitalization on Elm and Taylor, that's why they want us to provide that office space on the first floor specifically, and then residential, some housing on the second and third floor. I do love this design. I'm just looking at it just based off, see, and then we also go down to a little bit more for me. So right now we've got to pull.
Go where? Sorry.
Zoom in just a little bit for me.
Okay. Yep.
We've got to pull those power lines that are right here on Taylor Street and right here on Douglas. And where would we put MEP boxes at?
So on this one,
It's an entire.
you also have a little more flexibility, you know, like in one of these corners or something. I've seen stuff notched out before, or, you know.
We can't do corners because of the right of way. Encore won't allow us to put any transformers there. The transformers don't technically have to be close to the MEP box, but the way that we have it designed now, there's one MEP box here, and then there's one MEP box here, and then the transformers sit next to it, so the lines all connect on the ground.
Okay.
And then they serve the buildings.
They're nice and close, so you're not running a lot of feeder wire.
Exactly.
What if we put them in the middle of each courtyard?
That's what I was just thinking about. If you put them in the middle, but then I started to think about the cost. Just based off where we have it now. We are abandoning that area for plumbing as well, and we're doing plumbing over here now. So
Because now the difference is you're just taking the cost of, so whatever you have for the dirt and parking and everything now goes for the first 50 units, let's say. Then all of the extra of the cost of the parking, extra wire, all that stuff actually goes to the next 50 units, basically, or 40 units. So if you look at it at cost per door, even though you might say, oh, now parking went from $1 million to $2 million, but if you double the units, it didn't cost you more. It just helps in cash flow.
Yeah. It definitely helps in cash flow by adding on the units and being able to pick up some of that space into the rooms.
Because if we can create beams in the parking ramp, you can run a lot of those utilities back and forth alongside the beams where they're protected.
So what if we still are 10% down on retail space.
Well, yeah, and you need it has to be mandatory on first floor.
Yeah, it's mandatory on first floor. They want it on first floor level.
But what if we did it narrower, like you have it 50 feet deep? What if we put it more like 20 feet deep and split it on each end?
Yeah, we're still don't have enough square footage. Yeah, I'd have to think about that.
And see, Dawn, right here, because we thought about putting parking on the exterior, but they wouldn't allow us to do parking because they've got parking down here that they're redoing. And they're also putting in the electrical car pumps in there as well. And they're also putting charging stations in there as well.
Okay.
And scooter-like mobiles down there as well.
Yeah, I was just trying to keep the parking for your units, that count, and then the other, because you don't want your tenants to have to pay for parking.
I don't. Although I will say right now, we're capitalizing on being able to charge for parking just because it's limited.
Sure.
So if that guy with that dilapidated building next to you is doing something, would there be any way to do some communal parking? Like if you took out parking, if we put retail on both ends of your building, could you pick up some of the parking spaces on?
This shows more of the new development.
Yeah, I switched to Google Earth for the back to look at the revised background. So here's the hotels and stuff that you're talking about, new development.
And the hotels are actually up more. That's more so, that right there. That's more so just the staging area that they've been using, but that's that property that the owner owns that wants to bring it in to develop kind of a higher end apartment building. But it has that same kind of restriction there for also retail as well, with it being mixed use.
Okay.
But that would be the other thought is, can we add some parking on his property that would count for your property? So if we took out 15 spaces of your parking to give you something on Taylor Street, would you be allowed to make the parking up across the road if we could design both buildings?
Yeah. And I'm also thinking, because we're going to get this entire piece right here.
This one across the road here.
Not that, it's even more than that. Go all the way down to Myrtle Street.
Yeah.
That one too.
Here.
All the way, all of this down here.
Oh.
So that's what I'm the design that you just had too would be perfect if I just laid this across here. So if we did, dang it. Dawn, I wish we weren't so late in the game. That's my only problem.
Well, you can also, you know, like you said, you're late in the game, you got full drawings done. I mean, we can also just work on the next one and maximize the efficiency on that.
The only thing is, and Caitlin, I don't ever want to sound that I don't care about the time and effort and money people have and stuff.
Absolutely.
But if there's a better way to do it, that, and I don't mean this to frustrate you.
No, you're good.
But what we're finding is so many of these architects they just take what they did in the last project and try to just slide it across. And
Oh, yeah.
it just gets so frustrating. I mean, that's
Yeah, like we
part of the
watched,
reason we brought Lathe in, because all I do is argue with architects all day long.
And even I told Alvin too, the last time I was in the office was, you were so right about the patios, about the windows, and even all the way down to the material. It was like, why would they choose this specific material, knowing the cost, knowing labor shortage, just everything that's going on right now? Why would we choose 4 different materials for exterior in the first place? And then also when you're looking at the structure of the building, the way that Lathe just had that design, that's going to be cheaper and it's going to go up much quicker. The way my building is currently designed, there's way too many corners. We've got way too many different unit sizes. It's not going to go up as seamless. And I do know that. But learning experience,
Right.
because now I do know better. And I know when I'm looking at plans, I know exactly what's going to cost me a more and what's going to be a lot cheaper, because it's unison. We could just take it up, So.
But that's exactly how architects work, though. We watch it over and over as they draw stuff. You bury a couple of $100,000 in a set of plans, you put it out to bid, it doesn't cash flow, come back, they change it, they charge you again. And it's like nobody ever looks at it from what's the constructability side. And then what they're wanting is somebody to push it because you think you get it just on the edge of where it'll cash flow. And then you're forever holding a project from teetering over the edge, which can't be, I mean, we fought it from, the project we're doing in Kakana, he kept questioning, well, why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? And I'm knocking corners off and straightening things out. And, when we started, we had 12 different unit mixes and now we have 4.
Oh,
and
wow.
it's just a matter of, no, it's got to be fixed because of this, because I can't have all this re-engineering to all these different room designs because you don't want to take the chance to look at it thoughtfully.
We were in Wisconsin with Elvin a couple of weeks ago, Caitlin, and we walked through our Kakana project, or not walk through, but we met about the Kakana project. We walked through another project that the architect was working on. They were already framing it, and imagine our surprise when we walked through the same units that they put in our building.
Oh,
right?
wow.
Like the same exact units. We're like, oh, this looks familiar.
Oh my God.
So it was a copy and paste,
And they do that. They do that.
Oh yeah.
And
remember
what's
the
funny,
plans that the architect firm showed you? They were like the old version of how apartments were done. They haven't really, developed anything new or modern size, and it required them to think out the box, but they went overboard. They drew overboard, they went a little crazy on material, and they went a little crazy on the walls and sections and so forth. So like, for another thing I told Alvin, I was like, I'm thinking about just cutting the decking altogether. There's not going to be any patios out there. We'll just have a railing system out there, the doors that open into the living room.
Little Juliet balcony.
Yeah, these guys get this stuff stuck in their head and they come up with the craziest concepts.
Yes.
But they don't have to build it and they don't have to own it.
Yes.
And that's the part that just ticks me off, I tell all these guys, you're gonna hate me by the time we get done, because I don't have fancy programs. I sit there and cut and paste and tape and white out, and I'm just like, this is what I'm seeing, people.
You charged me $282,000 for this crap, and now you're telling me I got to pay an additional $50,000 just for fixes, corrections. Like it's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah,
it's a waste, and that's why having Dawn and Lathe, it's a pure blessing. You guys are pure blessings because you're taking the time out to look at the plans and really dissect them.
Thank you, Caitlin.
Well, I think what's wrong is you're developing a business plan with the
Mhm.
performa and all that stuff over here, and we have architects drawing designs over here, and they don't like or care about that information. And
Yep.
that's really what we're trying to bring out at this show, is this process has to go from, first of all, what's the needs and rents of this community?
Exactly.
What can you fit on the property? How can we design a building that still cash flows using this performa? Because if you separate those two,
Hmm.
and we get it all the time, because even in the build, they just break it up by architectural categories and they price it all individual. And it's like, nope, this is more expensive than this, so don't do that. But
Oh, wow.
the problem is like this makes this, they all affect each other.
Right.
So really what you have to do is come up with an overall cost, not, because they look at it from just products.
That's
When we first started on Kakana, that's going to be a fun project because they were ready to stick a shovel in the ground. It was
Oh, wow.
100% state approved. It was done. I mean,
really.
go start building when we bought the project. And we said, yeah, well, no. And we just started trashing it. We took a floor out of the building, we changed all the rooms around,
Jeez.
and it's just like, we're not going to do this because I don't like the way it's designed. There was just some things that are just not right.
Yeah.
And, the builder was telling us, he goes, you could be, right now, he says, you could be adding $300,000 to the cost of this build. And I'm like, okay, take the number. How much is $300,000 in a payment per month?
Mm-hmm.
So I forget what we came up with, like $3,000.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, okay, we're going to take this thing from 87 meters down to 1. And I said, they charge $40 a month per meter. So at 80 meters that are, now eliminating 79, but at 80, that's $3,200 I just eliminated. So I just took my $3,000 and just put it someplace else. So even though the building costs money, how I'm doing it down to 1, balanced it back out. And I said, that's what we have to per meter. It's where design, perform, and plans meet.
Yeah.
That's the important part. $3,200 I just eliminated. So I just took my
It's just
replaying. So even though the building costs money, how I'm doing it down to 1, balanced it back out.
Is that me doing that? You think?
It's.
I mean, I don't know what I touched.
Design, perform, and plans.
Yeah.
That's the important part. $3,200. We'll get Alvin and ask him where the untouched button is.
It's just replaying. Well, okay. It's got our voices recorded. Like what's going on? Is that me doing that? Oh God! Now it's really recording us.
Design, perform, and plans. That's the important part. $3,200. We'll get Alvin and ask him where the untouched button is.
Well, okay.
Well, you just let us know what you want, where you want to go from here, Caitlin.
Okay. Oh God! Now I think I stopped the recording.
Yep, you did.
Okay. Okay.
This is still live streaming, right?
Yeah, we're still live streaming. Lath, are you the host?
Where you want to go from here? I think so.
Okay. Oh God! I think I stopped because you're sharing screen. So okay. Okay. Are you sure you want to stop recording?
Still.
Okay, we're live.
Live streaming, right?
Yeah, we're still live streaming. Like, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, but I can't hear you now.
Okay.
Okay, I stopped sharing screen. So we got a technical difficulty going on, guys. Sure you want to stop recording? Because it's just I'm getting annoyed hearing my voice now. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, but I can't hear you now.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know what I'm doing, guys. Should I just leave it alone?
Go Go ask Alvin how to stop live stream.